I just bought this wrecked Nissan GTR, which we think has been a victim to insurance fraud. But despite that, I think I can rebuild and fix this car within 24 hours. And this time, I mean 24 hours. I'm not going to be leaving my workshop for a full 24 hours. 9 hours left. In an attempt to rebuild a car I've never worked on before. I can see oil. I'm not going to cross this line unless I need to test drive the car. Oh no! But why? When I saw this car at the salvage auction, it looked like there was minimum damage. An easy repair. But there's one serious and expensive fault which I think is the reason this GTR ended up at the salvage yard. A transmission fault.
Transmission.
Transmissions. Transmission.
The transmission.
In the early Nissan GTRs, the transmissions are prone to failure.
Yep, Nissan GTR, a piece of junk.
And with Nissan refusing to sell any parts of the transmission separately, you're almost forced to buying a brand new one, which could cost thousands. But what are the chances that it has a bad transmission on the day that it crashes? Seems unlikely, and that's the risk I was willing to take. One more. That's it. 2013. Now at this point, the bids have already exceeded what I thought it was going to go to. So if this car needs a transmission, it would be a huge loss. But I was still going to go for it.
13 quick. 2013.
And just when I thought I was outbidded and I was on my max bid, my cameraman decided to bid £750 more.
So 750 more is not a problem.
So.
And it looks like that did it. I now owned a Nissan GTR, known for being the supercar killer. One of the most tunable cars I know of, which brings such great value for money. And here's mine.
Oh my god. What's happened there then? Oh my god, I got a GTR.
This is one of them cars that I've always loved, but never actually committed to buying one.
So does it start up?
Yeah.
Oh there, it's in the middle.
There's something wrong with the brakes.
Yeah, they're very spongy.
Yeah, there's no brakes. Oh, I think they must have jumped it. Look at that, Japanese lightweight. First impressions, it seems all good, but the battery is flat and there's a problem with the brakes. So now we're going to attach the battery pack to the battery to see if we can get this thing started up. Yeah, there we go. Let's start it up. Apparently a transmission fault, but have we got a bargain? Let's hear it roar. We want to hear Godzilla roar. It's really smelly in here.
Quite smooth.
Well smooth. The engine runs, which is a good start. But how about the gearbox?
It's a bit worrying, isn't it? What's going on down there? Is that diff?
I don't know if that's normal. But the brake pedal, look. I'm all the way to the floor. There's something wrong with the brakes. The brake issue is strange, but so far the gearbox seems okay, and it actually selected gears. Goes into reverse.
The throttle response.
Neutral. First gear. Manual.
So what's wrong with the gearbox?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And we did find out. At this moment, I wasn't ready to work on the car. So we left it on the trailer and the next day come back to it, where all of the issues began to start. I think plan is, let's get it off the trailer and we need to test. If this gearbox is fine, then we've got a bargain. Okay. I still don't know why there's no brakes. There's literally, it goes like all the way to the floor. And then it was the start of the transmission fault. So we've got transmission fault, flashing on the dash, engine management light, no traction control, but again, all of this could just be because of the low battery.
Oh.
Despite the transmission fault and the rest of the faults on the dash, the GTR still managed to select a gear and roll off by itself, which is good news. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? What's really cool? You'll like this.
What?
How good's that?
The dash moves with the steering wheel.
The dash, so you can move the steering wheel down, and it doesn't obstruct your view of the dash. You can move it down. I can still see the dash. Move it up. Why is that not a thing in all cars? That's really
crazy.
cool. I think we've got a really good GTR here, and it's quite rare to see an unmodified one. It's just that transmission fault which is worrying me. But maybe if I took this car for a drive, it may clear all the faults. That was my next step. Right, check this out. Auto. Will not go into manual. Stays in auto. Right, let's see if we'll clear any faults whilst if we take...
Oh. It's like the C63. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is not good. Or, ready? Foot flat to the floor. Could that be solenoid? Oh my I think there's an issue, which means it might not be as much of a bargain as we thought. These GTR gearboxes kind of work like a manual gearbox, but instead of using a gear lever in the car to select the gear, you press the paddle behind the steering wheel, and it then uses these oil pressured solenoids which slide in and out to select the gear. But if one of these solenoids becomes jammed, or there's a problem with the electrics, then of course you're going to get faults. There's demonstration, so it's in auto, from standstill, foot flat to the floor. You would expect it to get off because GTR drag race videos, I've seen loads of them on the interwebs. Ready? 3, 2, 1. That was an improvement. But it definitely wasn't right. It seems we have a problem. Now I'm swaying towards this as an insurance job.
100%. Definitely. How is it that the gearbox goes at the same time that you get crashed into?
Yeah, I know, that's what doesn't make sense. Yeah, why?
Oh, my gearbox went and then conveniently
someone
hit
crashed.
my
Yeah,
door. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
What a convenience! Now I've got a payout from the insurance.
That just never. That wouldn't happen.
It just like it would be so convenient for that to happen, wouldn't it? Like if the gearbox went and then you rang Nissan and you said, "Hey mate, my gearbox gone. How much?" They would go, "Oh, 30 grand for a gearbox plus labour." I'd be like, oh no. And then the next day someone crashes into it and you go, "Oh no, someone's crashed into my GTR. I'm gonna have to get my payout for the car."
Can't believe
It'd be so unfortunate.
Oh, yeah.
I do like GTRs, but
What, you actually like it?
yeah, I wasn't saying I like this one. I like GTRs, but this is the older shape, isn't it?
It's not even that much difference.
I notice it.
One theory, look, about only thing non-modified. This is a 7 Valley Motorsport keyring on the GTR, which is a company which modifies GTRs.
Maybe you're in the wrong profession and you should be a detective.
So we've got multiple problems here. A gearbox fault, a fault with a battery, an ABS fault, a rear quarter fault, a door fault, and a fault with the brakes as well. I bought this car to rebuild it within 24 hours thinking we might get away with not having the gearbox fault. But we're still gonna try it within 24 hours and I'm not gonna leave the unit. And until this car enters that unit, the clock starts.
Matt has definitely got a fault with his head.
This is it, 24 hours inside my unit to fix the GTR. Now because it does have that gearbox fault, we thought it's not the best idea to carry on driving it. So to get it into neutral, I can pop this plastic piece out, insert the key, and now I can slide the gear stick into neutral so we can push it inside the unit. Now before I received the car, I ordered all the parts that I thought I would need. And I'm hoping that there'll be enough because the challenge is about to start. This is it then, from this moment onwards, 24 hours, I will not be leaving this unit. Matt, the cameraman, and my dad are going to be leaving me at regular time. I'll be staying here and I'm hoping I can fix this in those 24 hours. Now I'm slightly worried about the gearbox, but let's start these 24 hours. And it starts. Let's do it.
What are we starting with, Tony?
The battery, apparently.
The faults we're getting on the dashboard are all electronical faults. And electronical faults start with the battery. If we can get a good battery on it, then let's read the fault codes. And if it's a case of clearing the fault codes and the gearbox is good, we're on to a really good start. and I can spend the rest of the 23 hours, 59 minutes doing a door and a rear quarter, and then figuring out these brakes. We've seen it plenty of times before, a low battery causing many electrical faults. What size you gave me? 10. You gave me a 10 as well, ain't?
Yeah, they are 10.
Oh, are they? I thought Chinese things are like odd.
Well, this is Japanese, so...
So I think it seems right to start with the battery, because there still could be a chance that this car didn't have a transmission fault before it went to auction, and letting the battery go flat could have caused the fault.
6 minutes so far.
Battery out. New one is going in. The new battery cost me £60, and we just got to refit it, but this time connecting the positive up first, then the negative. My dad will explain why.
The current anodes go from negative to positive. They don't go positive to negative.
They don't go clockwise, they go anti-clockwise.
It's not a clock.
Last few things to bolt up on the battery, then we're going to see if it changed anything. Right, I think if this is a really, really good deal and a really good gamble, there's no transmission fault anymore. Right, time to get out the code reader. There we go. Now we'll plug in the OBD reader, which will hopefully tell us what the hell is going on with this car. First step is to plug it into the OBD port, then we can read the codes. Imagine this does it.
This will be a bargain if that's the case.
Yeah. Engine pass. It should be a fail for ABS. Yes.
Okay, that's positive.
We do have a fault for ABS. We waited for the car to read all of the codes. Then we can get an idea of what's going wrong. Okay. So, transmission. Solenoid. As I thought, one of the faults is for a solenoid in the gearbox, along with another fault as well. Control module performance.
And that could be because the battery's low.
Because the battery is low.
Oh my. If this works, I swear. If that 60 quid battery fixes that gearbox, that's going to be crazy. But why would you have a past fault? Module C.
If it's low, if your battery's low, it will bring up a load of fault codes which are just going to be past faults because now we've got a new battery on it. This error is about low battery, dead battery, bad ground, or a problem. It's going to be a battery. We're hoping this fault was just caused by a low battery. So what I'm going to do now is clear that fault codes and see if any of them come back when we rescan it. Codes have been successfully erased. Good news, okay. It seems to have done it. There's a bunch more codes on the car which I'm just going to clear off, and then later we'll see what comes back. I've got no faults left. No faults left over. Ignition's off now. And we start it up and I think I need to test drive it. Please, if there's no flashing light from the start up, we're on to a winner. There's no light. There's no light. There's no light. We've got traction control light, ESP sim system malfunction, visit dealer. It might just need driving. It might need driving, wouldn't it? If this has fixed it, this is the best. I'm allowed out, but as long as I don't touch the outside world. The rules are, I'm allowed out the unit as long as I'm test driving the car. Could it be the car only needed a £60 battery to fix the transmission fault? The brakes, we still have no brakes, so there is definitely an issue there. Will it go into manual? It will. Oh,
it's driving well smooth.
No way has it fixed it. No. It's so much better.
That's a million.
Second gear, we got a fault.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, we've got a fault, but it's an ABS fault. ABS malfunction. It seems to be working. We do have a fault which has come back about the ABS and the traction control, but we think the transmission fault is fixed. So I'm going to go into auto. I'm going to auto and pulling off. It works! No way! No way! It's so much better. We really could be onto a winner here. One transmission fault fixed already, and I've still got 23 hours left to fix the rest of the damage. It's looking more and more possible. So we've got transmission fault done, but we've got ABS fault, a broken door, and a broken rear quarter with 23 hours remaining. I think I've just bought myself at least 10 hours of gearbox fault solving. Now, it's up in the air for the GTR to see if we can see anything unusual underneath the car. An oil leak here, it looks like a lot of oil.
Oh yeah.
It seems we've got a small oil leak coming from around the gearbox. So we need to inspect that.
Look at that.
Look at that!
You can tell it's from Devon. Oh my god, look, there's bits of it missing.
The exhaust is definitely rusted. Do you know what, though? It looks like all OEM bolts underneath, which is a sign of like a really well looked after car. The rust is probably explained by it being in Devon and Save the Lifeboats. It's going to have lived near the sea, innit? Earlier, we seen that on the number plate, the car's come from Dorset, which is on the coast in the UK. So it's been around some salty water. And to back this up, we can see that he supported the lifeboats. Maybe this was a lifeboat, the amount of rust that's underneath it. But I still think it should clean up well. Look at this, we think we found some sort of clue to the brakes. Check out this, look, the caliper looks like it's being spaced. And look at them. That can't be original.
Why would you space the caliper?
The only reason you space the caliper is if you put a bigger disc on there. But that still doesn't explain why we don't have a brake pedal. But before we jump onto the brakes, I'm just slightly worried that we know how bad these gearboxes are, and it looks like there is oil down here. So we want to inspect where that's coming from first, which means we've got to remove this panel. Then we can move on to try and getting these brakes working. And I think if we can get the brakes working without like buying anything, this is a bloody good car. To get to the oil leak, we've got to remove this huge under tray. Then I've got my fingers crossed that it's nothing drastic. We found where the oil leak's coming from.
Could be coming out the switch.
Look. So this oil leak is actually coming from, I don't know what, a position, maybe a position switch, because look, here you can see the shifter arm, where it will select it into neutral, park, reverse, drive, whatever you like, but check this out. I removed that just 2 seconds ago, and all oil was all inside of here.
What, oil in the electric?
Yeah, it's coming down the switch.
Through the terminals, the switch.
Oh.
A new switch should solve that oil leak, so I'm gonna have to order one.
You got a new exhaust for this?
I don't know.
I bet this is the only car you're not putting an exhaust on, and it needs a new one.
My dad's right, this exhaust has seen better days. But that wasn't on my list of things I needed to fix. Let's solve this brake issue. 22 hours, got so much time. Only need to change 2 panels as well. Wrong slide. How good is stood up? This wheel, I don't think has been cleaned, ever. Look at all the brake dust on it.
And they've put the new weights
Over. What the hell? And look at that, the tyre is stretched on, so it's the wrong size tyre, and it's a radar. It just doesn't match any of the other tyres. Right, these brake discs, you reckon they're OEM? They're pretty new.
We need to measure them and compare them to the stock ones.
We do. And then we can see whether those spacers are on the caliper, because he's upgraded the brakes. So far, nothing's given away why we've got spongy brakes. But we can see a spacer behind the caliper because potentially it's got upgraded discs on. You could buy upgraded 390mm. So he's going to measure the disc to see if it was the upgraded one.
390.
390, the upgraded. So it was an upgraded disc, and that explains the spacers behind the caliper. But it doesn't explain why the brake pedal pushes to the floor. Now, the reason why you get a spongy brake in a car, as we all know, is because there's going to be air in the hydraulic system. And the way to get the air out is to undo these bleed nipples on each corner, and hopefully that'll get the air out of the system. If there's no air in the system, then we have an issue with the brakes, which is not good. Could it just be the case of bleeding the brakes, then we'll get a pedal? I guess if we're lucky.
I'm giving it a brake fluid change.
Which I think is a good idea. My dad's sucking out all the old brake fluid, and then we're going to replace it with some fresh fluid.
So I'm going to fill the reservoir up now with clean fluid.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's empty.
And then when my dad puts in the fresh Valvoline fluid, it should push the rest of the old fluid out of the system. And at the same time, we should get out any air that's in the system as well. My dad's going to each corner whilst I'm pumping the brakes in the car, and hopefully we can get a pedal.
Okay. Pedal light.
Pedal test. It's rock hard.
Really?
Yeah, it's rock hard. Look at this. Rock hard. We fixed this for £0. No, £60 at the minute. But why has it got an ABS fault on the dash? Even though I had a brake pedal, I still had a fault for the ABS and the traction control. ESP system malfunction. We've got this valve set code. Now the traction control works by slowing down a wheel it thinks is accelerating too fast compared to the others, stopping wheel spin. And the ABS works when it thinks one wheel is slowing down too much compared to the other wheels to stop skidding. But there's one type of sensor you need for both of these systems to work, and that's a wheel speed sensor. These sensors tell both the ABS and the traction control how fast each wheel is turning at one time. And if there's a fault with any one of these wheel speed sensors, then of course we're gonna get a fault for the ABS and traction control. So what I'm doing now is taking the GTR on another test drive with readings from each wheel speed sensor to make sure they're all reading the same speed as each other. Yeah, left unlock. Now it all should read same speed. And it looks like they are. Yeah, there's no obvious signs, is there?
Is the ABS like that?
Yeah, I've got ABS and ESP malfunction. So it's this valve set is the issue. Now again, just like the gearbox, the ABS works with solenoids. If the ECU detects that one wheel is skidding, it will send a signal to one of the solenoids to stop sending brake power to that skidding wheel. Now it's possible that this valve set fault means something to do with the solenoids. Only way we can do is get it back to the unit and investigate more. We've still got a door and a rear quarter to go, but we have fixed the brakes and we have fixed the gearbox. Time was ticking. We got the car back in the unit and just tested everything. All the relays for the ABS, which all seemed okay, but then we think we found a solution. The C1193 code is to do with the ABS pump, and the ABS pump needs to be calibrated with a tool which we haven't got. This person's tried to use ECU Tech to try it, but it didn't work for him. In the end, the solution was 150 quid to run a calibration at the Nissan dealership, and then it worked. So why would it need a valve calibration?
I wonder if it's because the battery's been going flat
And then it needs to recalibrate.
Yeah, then it needs to recalibrate.
That's it. That's it. We're going to have to go to Nissan. And it is now 5 to 7 on a Friday. Well, I'm still taking it as a win because we've got the brakes working, the transmission's working. We're 60 quid in and everything works, so apart from there's a lot of them down. So again, the conclusion has come down to electrical stuff. Stupid. But now we can move on to the bodywork, which is a little more straightforward. Okay, doors coming off, guys. So my dad reckons they only use 12, 14s and 15s on Japanese cars. And he'd be correct because that is a 12mm. This door is made out of aluminium, and because of that it makes it pretty hard to repair. And also, second-hand doors weren't too expensive. So I'm just going to remove this door and replace it with a second-hand one. There's one bolt for the top hinge, one bolt for the bottom hinge, the check strap in the middle, then the wiring. Whoa!
I've got you, bro. I've got you.
That come off. Okay, door off. And once I've got the door off, we need to make sure we strip everything from it. The door card and the wing mirror. Chris is here. And he's dropped in to help. So what Chris is going to do is take this door card off, ain't you, Chris? Yeah, so Chris is going to do that whilst we take more damaged parts off. And the next one is the rear quarter. And there's not many 12mm you need to get that off. Go, Chris.
Going.
Chris started stripping apart the door card off the old door because we're going to need this to put on the second-hand door. Rear quarter, to replace it, takes a lot of work, which means we've got to remove it. See all these? There's spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld. And it doesn't just stop there, it's gonna go all the way inside this window, all the way down this glass, which I may say, screensaver already come before we started the 24-hour challenge to remove the screen. So we had a little slight head start. They did it. Good job. Screen is out. This screen is also out as well. Can we do it in under 19 hours? Off and on with a new one. There's only one way to find out. Unlike the door, the rear quarter is steel, which makes it a little easier to repair, but we're gonna need a body shop to do that, and it was pretty cheap for a new rear quarter. As someone did say, when you remove this, order new clips, because they do break.
Have you ordered new clips?
No.
Oh. You just said I'm going in with confidence. Oh, no!
Oh,
That's what you said happened.
oh no!
Oh no.
The guy that told him about the clips.
He didn't
That's
tell
what
me about
happened.
the whole
That's
thing.
what he did. He broke.
Oh, he
his,
did. He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
The lad who told me about the clips told me as well, when he pulled this off, he broke that trim. Mistakes were made. It's always gonna happen. And it actually turns out this trim is screwed on from underneath. The good news is that I think we could actually repair this to go back on. But of course, that's gonna take even more precious time away from us.
It's off. Do you know what it was? Stupid. 10 bolts for a door card, plus like clips. That's a lot.
Wow! This was an absolute bargain. eBay. £350, same colour, and it even come with the wiring, the door handle, and a window glass as well. But we are gonna have to switch some stuff. Someone's actually upgraded the speaker in this one to an Audison. And they've also chopped the OEM wiring off. You can see the two red connectors here. So Chris is gonna swap out the upgraded speaker for the OEM one. We can actually check if this is a stolen part, because we could car vertical check it from the VIN sticker on there, and if it comes up stolen, we've got stolen goods, and that means we'd have to report it to the police. All you need to do to check a car out is have a VIN number or registration number, and Car Vertical will get data from over 20 different countries. Marked as scrap.
Can't be.
This vehicle was damaged, and this vehicle was marked as an insurance write-off, and it was in fact a category B. And I used the same check for this car to really sway my decision into paying that little extra at auction. Despite the record of it being damaged, this actually has a really good Car Vertical check.
Are all the clips? Hey, look, I didn't break a clip. I just broke the trim.
Chris is back at the door card putting in the OEM wiring plugs for the speaker. Then he's also got to switch over the wing mirror from the old door onto the new one. But looking back at the Car Vertical check for this car, you can see that the mileage all lines up and there's no discrepancies. But I can see that the car was damaged as a category S, which means it can be put back on the road.
What's next, Chris?
Mirror's going in. And then once the mirror's in, glass goes back in.
Now the thing I think is really good about this car is that I can see it's only had one owner, because I can see a full timeline of this car. And I can also see the month it was damaged, last year in June. We're switching the glass over from the old one onto the new one because the second-hand one come with tinted glass, and also the glass is marked with a VIN number, so we're going to make sure that they all match up. Then finally, it's back on with a door card. And with that being said, if you want to set your car out on Car Vertical, you can do with the link in the description box below, and we're using code MATT, you're going to save a nice bit of discount on that. And it looks like Chris, well done Chris,
Let's go.
has JDM'd the door out. Chris has cracked open a Red Bull, which means we are a quarter of the way through. Meanwhile, we've been taken off the side skirt. The screws on this side skirt were so rusty. The most rustiest screws in the world.
That's Nissan here.
You're a hater on the Nissan.
No, only Nissan screws.
Which means we have to be really careful when removing them. There's a full-on beach coming out of the side. There's literally a beach on the floor. I don't know what the previous owner did with this GTR, but it looks like he's had some fun in it, on a beach or maybe even off-roading. But eventually, we got it off. Look at all that.
This is all from Devon.
Oh my God. With the side skirt off, we should be able to access everything now. 17 hours, 59 minutes left. Matt's now going, so we're down to me, my dad, and Chris to carry on. Eliminate. Anything which is attached to the rear quarter needs to be removed. All these buttons, switches, and door latches all need to come off. And once we've done that around the door shut, it's time for the boot lid to come off. Unbolting both hinges from each side. And then instead of disconnecting all the electrics in the boot, we're just going to lift it up and slide it through the rear screen. Now we can access all of the spot welds to drill off this rear quarter. Chris is going to start drilling out the spot welds, but the idea here is not to go all the way through. We just want to drill off the top layer, so then we've got something to weld onto, and that's why he's using this special drill bit. Whilst Chris was drilling out the spot welds at the front of the rear quarter, me and my dad were working on getting the rear bumper off the car so we could access all the spot welds behind the rear bumper. And it looks like the rear lights actually come off with the rear bumper, which is what I'm unbolting now. And whatever I do on one side, I've got to repeat it on the other side, as it gets later in the day and the time is still ticking down. Drilling out these spot welds is a long process. Hour 20, 17, 23 left. Liam joined in. The more of us on this car, the more likely we are of getting it finished within that 24-hour timescale. Now, both me and Chris are working at drilling out those spot welds and then using the spot weld chisel to wedge in between the rear quarter and the inner structure. Dad's clocking out, 17 hours remaining. Now my dad's gone. Let's get his car in the ramp so we can finally get this rear bumper off. Back goes the GTR in the two-post ramp. We've got to get this rear bumper off now. So it's off with both wheels, and Liam's going to peek round the arch lining to undo the bolts which connect the rear bumper to the rear quarter. And on the other side, I'm going to remove the full arch lining. This car looks like it's never been cleaned. There's so much dirt. But we'll have plenty of time after the 24 hours to clean it all up and maybe ice blast it all. And once me and Liam have unscrewed all of the bolts, we should be able to lift out the rear bumper complete with the rear lights as well, and the diffuser. Behind the bumper, the car's pretty clean, and everything is fully original, even the exhaust, which I suppose is a good sign. And now Chris is working away at separating the outer quarter from the inner arch lining structure. Right, it's getting to that time where if we don't close the shutter, we will attract 9,000 moths. And that is it. It is down. Whoa, and there's a moth already in it. That's a fat moth. It's like a bird. 16 hours. With everything exposed at the back, we're back to drilling and then chiseling out these spot welds. We've got to make sure we don't damage any panels underneath the rear quarter because that's what we're going to be welding onto. But Chris seems to be enjoying this job. So what we decided to do, instead of replacing this whole panel with all the light section and everything else in there, we're going to just replace the outer quarter panel, which means we've now got to drill all these bits off this piece and keep this piece on the car, which actually is not going to be, it's going to be all right, to be fair, because then we know the light is in the right position, we know the boot's going to be in the right position. It's just the quarter panel we've got to line up. So I'm going to start drilling these off. Chris is already over there drilling them ones off. Hopefully we can pull this off. I think this is the best solution. The only issue with doing this is that I risk damaging the new panel, so I've got to be as careful as possible here. But I think I've smashed it. 14 hours remaining. We're at a bit of a situationship over here. We're slowly peeling back this rear quarter. It looks an absolute mess. We're trying to, up here, the roof is on top of the rear quarter, like the actual roof panel is on top and the rear quarter slides underneath it. So we made a little cut hole here and I'm hoping that we can just like work it out and pull it out from underneath it because we don't want to damage the roof.
Oh!
Yes! Body shop. Quarter off. Finally, we got the rear quarter panel off. What a job that was. But I'm afraid it's going to take even longer to put the new quarter panel back on. Look at this. The good news is that all of the inner structure, there is no damage. There is, oh actually there is some inner structure damage here to like the wheel arch, which we can just tap that out, do a bit of body shopping. Now all of this has got to be cleaned up. Everywhere where there's a weld I've got to clean up. We go all the way over it with a sander, and then we can start sliding in the new one eventually. Jack did tell me as well that it is best to put the quarter panel on with the wheels on. That way the car isn't supported by the body and we're not going to cause any weird flexes as well. And we also should put the door on before we put the quarter panel on to make sure that the quarter panel lines up with the door and the boot as well.
This sounds like a right laugh.
Yeah, it does sound terrible, and there's 13 hours remaining. Yeah, Liam's disappeared to get a haircut at 1:15 in the morning. I think that was a terrible excuse from him. We've got to make sure that the inner structure is spot on before we start fitting the other quarter panel. So with a bit of heat and a hammer, we knocked out the wheel arch section pretty well, and then we're using the belt sander to clean up anywhere where the spot welds were. So we get a nice clean surface to weld onto. Okay, wheels are on, we're going to lower it down, roll it off, and then I can start the process of refitting a quarter panel. Yeah, we can't mess this up. Because if we mess it up, it's messed up for real. Right, plan. We're going to put new door on and the boot on. Then we've got a reference point to line up this rear quarter. Come on. But as me and Chris lifted up the door to fit it to the car, we found another problem. Oh no. Oh no. There is a bolt or a nut inside this door.
I was definitely sabotaged.
Precious time is being wasted. We had to take off the door card again and try and fish out this loose bolt which was in the door. That thing was causing the noise. And once we found it, we've got to put it all back together again. But that is just cars for you. With the bolt out, we can start lining up the door to the car. One bolt at the top, one bolt at the bottom, the wiring and the check strap. It's looking good. Look at this. That is pretty good.
Colour as well, colour looks good.
The colour ain't even that bad. I guess we'll see when we see it in daylight properly, but it really ain't that bad. As well, we've got to put the boot lid on. This is so when we put the rear quarter on, we've got two references to line it up. Boot is on, door is on, rear quarter. Oh, as we approach the halfway line.
That's good going if you ask me.
Yeah. Okay, so that kind of slotted underneath it. We then test fitted the rear quarter to make sure everything all lined up. Look at that. There's a first test fit. I think it does have to go up a tiny bit, but that.
Not by much, is it?
No, it ain't. It ain't. That is looking absolutely sensational for first fit. I can't believe how thin all the panels are and everything, how it moves. But yeah, look at that. This is looking good. OEM. Now I've got to really drill all the holes for my spot welds so I can mark them all out where I want them to go. Chris is clocking out. It was down to me now to finish this car on my own. I'm now marking out every single hole that I need to drill where a weld will need to go, whilst the time is still ticking. And there's plenty of holes that need drilling. Now you might be asking, why try and do this in 24 hours rather than take my time and do it how I'd normally do it? Well, I saw this as a kind of challenge for myself. What is actually possible in 24 hours? Also, hopefully you guys are enjoying watching this as well, and if you are, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because it does really help the channel out, and it's completely free just to hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more holes to drill. Drill time. This is definitely going to be a build to remember. Locked in the unit for a full 24 hours, rebuilding a Nissan GTR. Now that I've marked out all the holes I need to drill, I've got to remove the rear quarter again, clean up all the areas that I'm going to be welding onto, and then add weld through primer onto them. After that, I've got to apply panel bond to all the sections where it was bonded on, like around the fuel cap and on the wheel arch. And I'm kind of glad I'm not welding around that fuel filler. Okay, this is it. No room for error now. The quarter panel is going on. There's panel bond on there, so I've only got a small amount of time to actually get it on and sit it perfect. I'm very tired. There's still 10.5 hours left, and I cannot make any mistake now. Let's do this, come on. The weld through primer also goes on the rear quarter, and then I can line it up again. I have no idea what time of the morning it is at the minute, but as I'm doing all of this, it felt like time was moving even faster, and the sun began to rise before I even knew it. Once the quarter's in place, I can bolt all the hardware to it, like the door shut and all the other little gubbins, and now it was time to weld. I think we're almost ready to get the welder out, and we've got 10 hours remaining. I've made it through the night. Check it out. You don't know how tempted it is to get in the car and go home and get some nice sleep, but this is going to be so rewarding if I can get this quarter panel on, because if I get this quarter panel on, then start building the bumper back on, this thing's going to look so good. Okay, this is it. There's no turning back now. I only learned to weld about a month ago. Here we are, 24-hour challenge, welding on a quarter panel into a Nissan GTR. Okay, let's do this. There is no turning back now. I've got to clamp the quarter as close as I can to the rest of the car, and then weld it on. And it actually looks alright. This method of welding is not called spot welding, it's more plug welding. A spot welder costs thousands of pounds, but we've seen many body shops and many repair specialists use this same method and it be effective. After all, there are so many welds which hold this quarter panel on, and oh do I know about it. 9 hours left. On the back of the car, I welded the quarter in place and then made sure that the rear screen still fit in. I was just a little worried that I'd warp the panel or move it a little bit and weld it in the wrong spot. But overall, I think I was making some good progress. To get the last few welds in, I've got to remove the boot lid, which will allow me to get the belt sander in there and the welder. And after that, I've got to apply some etch primer. Now, all of these welds are primered and any exposed metal is primered now. It may not look the prettiest of things, but when the car goes to paint, I'm sure the body shop will touch up a few of my rough jobs. But now I've had a look on this side, and the seam sealer is just a very, very small amount all around the edges, in between the panels and stuff. So I think we could just replicate that on this side by, yeah, just going down with a paintbrush really, because it's not as, well, it doesn't look as thick as how they put them on the German cars. Then Hannah turned up. Yay!
Oh my god, you've not got long left.
4 hours. I can't wait to go to sleep. Then my dad showed up. The morning had come and everyone had turned up with just enough time to do the seam sealing. Another one of my least favourite jobs. I've already masked the area that I need to seam sealer, and now I'm going over it with a paintbrush. This is just going to seal a gap between two panels. Again, this is all rust prevention, and we know how these Nissans like to rust. So in fact, I've applied more seam sealer than they do from the factory. After that, I can start putting all the panels back on the car, like the fuel filler cap and the rear boot lid, along with the hinges as well. Now yes, I know this rear quarter isn't painted yet, but we're still fitting up all the trims and panels to the car. One, because I want to make sure that they still fit and all aligned before it does get painted. And two, I want to make the car look like it's finished by the end of the video. Now, I don't know whether I'm more looking forward to finishing the car or the 24 hours to be over. Back up goes the GTR in the ramp again, hopefully for the last time now. Me and my dad can lift on the rear bumper with the rear lights and then put all the under trays back on. Hey, one thing I was worried about, and now I'm not so worried about, is that the bumper actually lines up really well. Look at the door lineup as well. New door, new quarter panel. It's better than a Rolls Royce. Back in goes all the carpets in the boot liner, and my dad has actually repaired the trim that I broke earlier. It's just applied a bit of glue to the back of it, and I'm sure with a bit of filler and paint, we can make it look perfect again. But for now, we're putting it all back in place to make sure everything lines up. And so far, so good. This red steering wheel, in my opinion, is absolutely disgusting. So that has got to go the further down we get down this car. But that's not a priority. Right now, we need to see how good Chris's wiring skills are for the speaker and door card fitting skills are to make sure everything works. So we're going to connect up the battery and check that everything works in this door, else it's all got to come back off again and put the original loom on. Okay. Lights working. Passed one test. Window. Goes all the way down past two test. How's the alignment on the window? Yeah, I think it's past that one. Past test number 3. Does the mirror work? Oh. The mirror works. Yeah. Last test. Has he passed with flying colours? He's passed the test. Everything works in the door. Well done, Chris. Right, last and final thing. 1 hour and a half left. These wheels have got to go. They're complete with odd tyres on every wheel and they're completely battered. Here he is. It's George from Wheelmania and I still cannot leave. Oh, he's got donuts. Yeah. George here from Wheelmania, the final piece of the puzzle. Oh yeah, they look sick. We got Vossens on the Murcielago as well. Of course, if you need wheels, you need tyres, you need any refurbishments, Wheelmania are your guys. The links in the description box for them, but most of you already know that. Hopefully, this will put the finishing touch because these were absolutely terrible. I mentioned to the guys at Wheelmania that I was attempting this challenge on the GTR and they wanted to be a part of it. And they've kitted us out with some 20-inch Vossens with some Michelin PS4s. And I think this is truly what the car deserves. Look at it. Wheelmania have finished it. 27 minutes remaining. We've still got time. I think we could have done more, but that's as much as I can physically and mentally take. I need to see what 24 hours of work now looks like, and also whether it was even worth it as well. But I think we've got a pretty good deal on this car. Let's get this out. With 22 minutes remaining, I can't do any more. I am out.
You gotta get up every morning. Big boss getting richer.
That is it. One GTR, 24 hours. And I think we've achieved a lot. One rear quarter, one door. My mind is absolutely boggled, but was it all worth it? Let me show you. The Nissan GTR was £35,200. A similar year GTR and mileage are selling upwards of £53,000. Mine is categorised so it will naturally sell for less though. The door, £350. The battery, £60. And the rear quarter, £850. And the wheels, of course, were from Wheelmania, which are a sponsored part. I'm not going to argue with that. Which brings the total build cost to £36,460. Of course, the rear quarter needs paint, but overall, I think it makes this GTR a really good deal. We've still got a lot more to do on the car, but thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much and good night. Look at the GTR. Look at it. It's a shame it's not fully done, but you can get slapped.
I just can't deny